When I see this question, there are two parts to this. I think one is about improving agriculture, and the second part is about status of farmers. I think quite a lot of perspective around this, and I'm very happy to see this two things coming together in this question. So there we are looking at technology. To me, I think technology is a great enabler, as all of us are experiencing, and it's a great, wonderful opportunity that is available. It's a great lever to sort of bring speed and scale. But when I go back and look at this particular question of improving agriculture and status of farmers, I also need to look at technology is a means and it's not an end, certainly. And then technology is also fast changing and it is disruptive. And if we are talking about a reach and impact, particularly on the farmers side, right? Not just agriculture, it's about agriculture and the farmers. And we need to have some perspective and some kind of a promotion which is required to be able to make that happen. So before I move to answer the specific question on role of technology, I think I come from a social impact space where we are working with small farmers, particularly farmers who are with very small land holdings and landless laborers. And we use a social enterprise approach to deliver the impact of improving the incomes and resilience of smallholders. Why smallholder farmers? Because we come from this idea of poverty reduction or elimination of poverty. But most of these people who are poor in rain-fed agriculture areas are small farmers. So, and they are dependent on agriculture as a livelihood. So when we look through this lens of improving their incomes, then we need to be working in agriculture. Therefore, the perspective is about, when we talk about the technology, is it agriculture improvement along with smallholders status improvement? This is very important. I can always improve the agriculture and eliminate the small farmers from that. So I look at this two together, right? Agriculture improvement along with the smallholder, that is one perspective. And the second one is about productivity. I think we are talking about agriculture productivity. It is also important that beyond productivity, we should also make sure that there is an income resilience and responsibility. I think that's the second perspective. So when I look through each of these levers like technology, I look through this perspective of beyond productivity to incomes and resilience and responsibility. And the third one is when we talk about these levers, again, what are the business case and for whom is a business case, right? Most times these business cases are designed for certain kinds of providers. At the same time, is it also a business case for the farmers? And the fourth important thing, whichever is the interventions we are looking at the farmers side, whether to improve productivity or otherwise, I think we end up improving the product which farmers produce, but they always end up being the laborers in the value chain, right? They do not have voice in the value chain. Even when a technology or something comes, whether they can actually move from being just the laborers in the value chain to something of a owners and governors. That means, do they have the capability to engage with that value chain and also able to take decisions, right? And negotiate for better prices, better engagements, etc. So rather than just keeping them with the laborers as laborers in the value chain, can they also move into a governors in the value chain? That's a perspective I just want to keep it upfront, because when we talk about the technology which can improve agriculture may end up not improving the status of the farmers if we don't keep these perspectives in mind. I look at 5 ways in which we can categorize the technology which come through either through the startup or otherwise. One is about the science of it, the science and technology in agriculture. For example, kind of SRI as a methodology, or soil and water conservation, or a farm machinery, etc. These are the kinds of science and technology based ones, one category. The other one is the information, IT systems, machine learning and AI, then image processing, etc. Then the third set which is emerging is quite a bit on the geospatial, satellite imagery, etc., which can actually plot, which can talk about climate, then weather forecasting, and also some of the pests and others, right? So satellite imagery is the other one. Then the fourth set is about sensors, right? Internet of Things, drones, etc. I think there's also other things about servicing, like watering, sowing seeds, etc. This is sensor-based technology. And another fifth area, which I always feel we also have a lot of startups and others who can come and talk about it. There are traditional technologies, right, which farmers themselves use, particularly their own seed conservation, storage, processing, which are almost combined with their lifestyle and culture. So that's the fifth area, which is a traditional side of it. How do we keep the experience and wisdom of people to be brought into this? There's quite a lot of those which are extremely climate resilient, which are very specific to the local areas, which are appropriate to that. So these are 5 ways we can look at: science and technology based, information based, geospatial based, sensor based, and the traditional technologies here. So there are plenty of these opportunities there when we put these to use. And there can be a lot of IT solutions, as we have seen. There are a lot of value chain and the market linkages, financial services, etc., which are coming in. I think these are extremely useful. Fintech, we have seen, extremely useful. Soil testing technologies are useful. Then quite a lot of weather forecasting is useful. But I think we need to put back to that perspective in saying that, are these actually leading towards farmers improving the status of the farmers, particularly the smallholders? There we look at some of the 4 or 5 points, which I think is important, is about what are the challenges in taking that. It will certainly improve agriculture, it can improve commodities, but are these improvements reaching the farmers? I think while we build in this technology, I think we should have a clear purpose in which we say that whether it can take the farmers together with us, right? And whether it doesn't exclude people who are already excluded in the value chains. I think the purpose for whom and with whom is very important. And the second set is about the digital literacy, both for the facilitators, right, who are working with the farmers, and also the farmers themselves, the progressive farmers, etc. I think the capacity of those facilitators are extremely important to make sure that the impact of technology actually reaches farmers and also improve agriculture. And there are quite a lot of deployment challenges. I think it could be related to the context in terms of connectivity and other issues. The other areas could be affordability and whether this access is available for people, particularly if you look at on the agriculture side, 60% of that work is done by women. Do they have these access to these technologies? Let's say a mobile technology, whether there may be 1 or 2 mobiles available in a particular household, but is it available for the women who are into agriculture? So therefore, the question comes in about financing and the capacity to use. And there is an overall support system which may be required if you want to just ensure that the potential of technology is taken towards farmers' welfare. And there is increasingly the data security and the governance in these, when we use this technology, also plays an important role, in which what is the voice for these people who are into agriculture or into the small farmers is something which need to be looked through. So to me, I think it's a wonderful opportunity, a great enabler. And if we are able to sort of keep these challenges and then provide some system in which, when the deployment and affordability and access, which is, and also the overall governance in which the small farmers are included, then I think we'll achieve both agriculture development and also improving the status of farmers. To me, I think when we talk about how private sector can be sensitized, I think to me, I'll start off with what is the value which agri and allied sector can provide to the private sector. I think when there is a value, perceived value, and there is a experienced value, I think that obviously there'll be an investment coming in. So I look through basically 2 lenses. I think one is about it's a clear business case for the private sector. I think what is that kind of a business case? That agri and allied sector, particularly they work in products and services. These products and services are required for the customers in the market, and also the inputs which are required to produce these products, where the farmers themselves are customers to private sector. I think efficiently and with a certain level of clear price points and ensuring consistency, private sector can play a very important role, both in terms of taking the products to the farmers in terms of inputs and other services, which will help them in agriculture and allied sector, and then later take the products to the market in terms of their outputs going to the markets here. So I think clear value add for the business case for the private sector is about engaging with agriculture and allied sector, that there is both ways, both input side and the output side, there are products and services. And the numbers are huge, right? The consumers on both sides are pretty huge. Therefore, farmers and the people who are involved in the agriculture and allied sector at various levels in the value chain, they can be supply chain partners as sellers. And more importantly, as we move forward, they can also provide quite a lot with respect to sustainability standards, right? Both in terms of consumers are pushing for sustainability standards. Brand reputation is all about sustainability standards. We are talking about sustainable development goals through the private sector. So working with this sector, particularly with the smallholders in the rural settings, and working with those type of practices and technologies, a great business scans which is available for the private sector. This is one value which I see. The second value is also about social responsibility and satisfaction. And how do you work on the larger social good? I'm not talking about the compliance part of CSR. It is more about how the social responsibility is institutionalized, and how the private sector, their board, their staff, and other people, or the stakeholders, who get satisfaction out of it. This is a larger social good. In both these cases, given that the poverty is highly linked to agriculture and allied sector, and then this particular sector is highly vulnerable, which also does not have adequate services, then this combination of working on agri-allied sector and helping the people can also provide huge satisfaction to the shareholders of the company. So both in terms of the business case as a supply chain partners, and also a larger social good for the social responsibility as beneficiaries to the program. I think the private sector to a large extent understands the size and potential. I think we talk about 60-70% of the population engaged in the agri-allied sector. I think there's a huge potential. I think this can also be further strengthened and provided information at various levels, that people get the perspective that there's something people can invest on. The second big thing which has happened recently is about these reforms, policy reforms in agriculture. I think which can also take away some of the fears, right? I think a combination of the 3 reforms, 8 schemes, and the other national initiatives which has taken in agriculture side, which can also provide, if it is able to sort of convert that into simple messages and the implications for the business, and then evangelize it. This is something which people can see the size and also the potential for that. If the private sector can look at a kind of an investment approach rather than a transaction approach with respect to products and services which they engage with, right? So again, go back to the original thing of there is a business case of directly going to the last mile and then investing in it. But then it cannot be through a transaction, can be an investment approach. And the second thing is that it doesn't have to be actually done by the same company or a particular industry. I think you can actually define the end game in which we would like to sort of make sure that the product and services are sold both ways. At the same time, it also helps the people in the allied, agri and allied sector. If the end game is clear, you can also look at some of the partnerships in which multiple organizations can come. So that's why we talk about the public, private, and the civil society system coming together. If we are clear about the end game, I think how each of us can bring in those capabilities. I think the third set is about the business case establishing, right? The model and the approaches. So a couple of models which people have been trying while all the stakeholders in the value chain actually gain, right? And what is the kind of models which can work there, and that the technology can play an important role in terms of addressing the interdependencies and also deliver certain kind of services. And the fourth one is very importantly, when we sort of engage with the business partners, many times there is a how do we institutionalize this intent, right, of working and investing in the agri and allied sector? I'm just combining the sector and the people together because the large amount of people are going to be smallholders and poor. I think there is a difference always between the founders and the front line. How do we bridge the gap between the front line and the founders in terms of many times we have an investment approach at the founder level, but then frontline level it's all about how do I get the least cost product from the farmers, right? I think that's where that kind of engagement happens on a day-to-day basis. So how do we sort of institutionalize this in the private sector? And there are a lot of new opportunities emerging. I think technology is a new opportunity. The reforms which are a new opportunity, and the kind of producer institutions which are being developed at various levels, which are last mile aggregation points, which can be great partnership opportunities. These are the areas in which private sector can certainly see advantages rather than going to the last mile and then doing it by themselves. A kind of a collaborative approach in which these new opportunities can actually help them to move forward.